Welcome to Evidence of the Word. I'm Charles Wilson, and today I want to invite you on a journey that could change the way you see yourself and your purpose. Have you ever felt deep in your heart a quiet voice whispering that you were made for something greater? What if I told you that voice isn't just a feeling but a truth written in the pages of eternity? In Ephesians chapter 1 verse 4, the Bible reveals something powerful. God chose us before the foundation of the world to be holy and blameless in His sight. Before the mountains, before the oceans, before time itself began, God looked at you and said, "You are mine." Isn't that incredible? You, with your struggles, your dreams, your moments of doubt, were chosen by a God who never makes mistakes. If this truth is already stirring your heart, write in the video comments, "I believe in God's purpose." Let's spread this message of hope together so more hearts can be touched. Stay with me, because today we're diving into what it means to be chosen by the Bible. No complications, just a revelation that can transform your identity, your faith, and your life. In the Bible, the word chosen comes from the Greek eklektos, meaning set apart by someone for a specific purpose. Picture an artisan carefully selecting a precious stone from thousands, not because it's perfect, but because he sees something unique in it. That's how God sees you. He chose you, not for your merits, but for the love He has for you. And John chapter 15 verse 16, Jesus says something that still echoes today. "You did not choose me. I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit." The creator of the universe, the one who formed the galaxies and sustains every beat of your heart, looked at you and said, "I want you in my story." But what does this mean in everyday life? Being chosen isn't about having a problem-free life or being better than others. It's about discovering you have a place in God's eternal plan. Maybe you're thinking, "Charles, I don't feel chosen. My life is full of challenges, mistakes, insecurities." And you know what? That's okay. Even the great figures of the Bible like Moses and David had moments of doubt. But God didn't choose them because they were perfect. He chose them because He trusted what He could do through them. I want you to picture something now. Imagine a soft light entering your heart, like a ray of sunlight chasing away the shadows of doubt. That light is God's love reminding you, you are enough because I chose you. Feel that truth. You don't need to chase approval or prove your worth. You are already chosen. One key thing about being chosen is that it doesn't depend on you. In Romans chapter 9 verse 16, Paul writes, "It does not depend on human desire or effort, but on God's mercy." In other words, your election isn't earned through human striving, but received through divine grace, a gift you don't achieve, but accept. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. She was a simple young woman living in a small village with no status or wealth. Yet God chose her for a mission that would change history. Why? Not because she was extraordinary in the world's eyes, but because God saw a willing heart in her. The same is true for you. God doesn't choose you for your accomplishments, but for the potential He placed in you. So, if you've ever felt unqualified because of a past mistake and insecurity, or thinking you're not good enough, hear this. God doesn't make mistakes. He chose you knowing exactly who you are, with all your imperfections. And He's ready to guide, transform, and use you for something greater. If this message is speaking to your heart, give the video a like right now. That helps our message reach more people who need to hear they're loved and chosen by God. Being chosen isn't just a blessing, it's a calling. In 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, the Bible calls us a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. This means you weren't chosen just to receive blessings, but to be a blessing. God wants your life to reflect His love, justice, and hope. Picture your daily routine. Maybe you're at work, facing tight deadlines, or at home, dealing with family demands, or even on social media, scrolling through a sea of opinions. How can you live as chosen in those moments? Maybe it's choosing kind words over criticism, offering a smile to a stressed coworker, or forgiving someone who hurt you. Those simple acts are the fruit of your calling. Let me give you an example. The other day, I heard about Anna, a listener of our channel. She worked in an office where the atmosphere was heavy, full of gossip. Anna decided to pray for her colleagues, and instead of joining negative conversations, started sharing words of encouragement. Little by little, the mood shifted. People began opening up to her, and Anna saw God using her life to bring peace. Anna realized being chosen meant being a light, even in dark places. What about you? How can you be a light today? Maybe it's helping a neighbor, praying for a friend, or simply treating yourself with more kindness. Every small act matters because God uses the ordinary to do the extraordinary. Now let's be honest. Being chosen doesn't mean a life without challenges. In fact, sometimes God's calling leads us through deserts. Think of the Israelites in Exodus. They were chosen to be God's people but faced hunger, fear, and uncertainty in the wilderness. Still, God sustained them with manna, guided them with a pillar of fire, and led them to the promised land. Maybe you're in your own desert right now. It could be anxiety about the future, a family conflict, or an emptiness you can't explain. But here's the good news. God didn't choose you to abandon you. He's with you, even in the darkest nights. In Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 8, the Bible compares the chosen to a tree planted by streams of water. Even in times of drought, that tree bears fruit because its roots are anchored in God. You are that tree. Your challenges aren't the end of the story. They're part of the process God uses to strengthen and prepare you. When the desert feels too heavy, try these 3 practices. First, pray with sincerity. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, "Pray without ceasing." Talk to God like you'd talk to a friend. Share your worries and ask for courage. Second, dive into the Word. Pick 1 verse a day like Psalm 23. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Reflect on what it means to you. Third, seek fellowship. Hebrews 10:24 reminds us to consider how to stir one another to love and good works. Connect with a faith community, even if it's just a small group of friends. Picture yourself standing in a desert, the sun blazing overhead. But as you look down, you see your roots stretching toward an underground river, full of living water. That river is God's presence, sustaining you, renewing you. You don't just survive, you thrive. If this image brings you hope, write in the comments, "I am sustained by God." Let's declare this truth together. No one was chosen to live in isolation. God created us to walk together. Think of the first disciples. They didn't follow Jesus alone, they had each other, sharing joys, doubts, and prayers. Likewise, you need a community to grow as chosen. In Acts chapter 2, verse 42, we see the early Christians gathering to pray, study the Word, and break bread. That fellowship strengthened them to face persecution and spread the gospel. Today, how can you find that fellowship? Maybe it's joining a Bible study group, praying with a friend, or even starting a small gathering at your home. Let me share a story. I met John, a young man who felt lost in his faith. He started watching our videos and decided to join a prayer group at his church. There he found people who listened, prayed for him, and helped him understand his purpose. Today, John leads a group and says he's never felt so alive. All because he took the first step to connect. What about you? What's the next step you can take to connect with other chosen ones? Maybe it's texting a faithful friend or signing up for that group you've been putting off. God uses the people around you to remind you of your calling. Now let's bring this to your routine. Being chosen isn't something that happens only at church or during prayer. It's an identity that transforms every detail of your life. In Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 and 13, Paul calls us to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who works in us. This means you partner with God in every choice you make. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, frustration, rising, but then you remember, "I am chosen." Instead of cursing, you pray silently or play a song that connects you to God. That moment, small as it seems, is you living your calling. Or maybe you're at home, dealing with a family disagreement. Instead of holding a grudge, you choose to forgive. As Matthew 5:9 says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." That forgiveness is a fruit of your calling, a reflection of who God created you to be. And on social media? Instead of joining arguments or sharing criticism, why not post a word of hope? A verse, a grateful phrase, an invitation to peace. You can be a light in a world that often feels so dark. Every choice matters because you're chosen to make a difference. If this idea of living intentionally inspires you, write in the comments, "I will live as chosen." Let's make this commitment together and inspire others to do the same. being chosen also comes with responsibility. In John chapter 15, verse 5, Jesus says, "Apart from me, you can do nothing." This means that to live this calling, we need to stay connected to Him through prayer, reading the Bible, and actions that honor God. Think of David. He was chosen as king, but made serious mistakes. Even so, God forgave and restored him, as we see in 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 13. This shows that being chosen doesn't exempt you from failure, but gives you access to transforming grace. If you've messed up, don't cling to guilt. Lift your head and trust. God is still working in you. How about taking a concrete step today? Set aside 5 minutes to pray and ask for guidance. Or read a verse like Philippians 1:6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Small actions like these strengthen your faith and align you with God's purpose. And when you feel the world's weight, remember Moses. He was chosen to lead the Israelites, but doubted himself, thinking he wasn't eloquent enough. Yet God used him to part the Red Sea. If God turned Moses' weaknesses into miracles, imagine what He can do with you. We've reached the heart of this message. Everything you've been through, every tear shed in silence, every prayer whispered in loneliness, every victory won, is part of God's plan to bring you to this moment. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 promises, "All things work together for the good of those who love God." Your struggles aren't the end. They're steps toward your eternal purpose. Picture a screen in front of you. On it, your hardest moments play out, the losses, fears, disappointments. But in the center, a bright light shines so strong it overshadows everything else. That light is God's election, the irrevocable calling He made to you before the world began. You're not defined by your mistakes or pains. You're defined by God's love. Now place your hand on your chest and feel your heart beating. Declare aloud or silently, "I am chosen by God." Let this truth echo in every fiber of your being. You're not alone. You never were. God is with you, guiding, sustaining, transforming you. If this message touched your heart, like the video now and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Let's bring this revelation to more hearts, because everyone needs to know they're loved and chosen. Being chosen isn't just a nice idea, it's a call to action. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, Paul writes, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." God has started something in you, but now it's time to partner with Him. How about a step today? Maybe it's setting aside 10 minutes to read the Bible, praying for someone in need, or forgiving that person you've been avoiding. Each step brings you closer to the purpose God dreamed for you. And don't worry if you stumble. Like David, who fell but was restored, you have God's grace to lift you up. Picture your feet fitted with the readiness of the gospel. As Ephesians 6:15 says, "Feel the solid ground beneath you, pushing you toward where God wants you to go." You weren't called to stand still, but to move forward with courage, carrying Christ's light where there's darkness. If you're ready to live this calling, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next messages. And in the comments, write, "I am chosen." This declaration is a milestone in your journey, a commitment to live for God's glory. You've made it this far, and that's no accident. God brought you to this moment to remind you who you are: a beloved son, a chosen daughter, a vessel of honor for His glory. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 21, Paul says that if anyone purifies themselves, they will be a vessel for honor, useful to the Lord, prepared for every good work. That's you, prepared, empowered, chosen. When challenges come, and they will, remember, you're like that tree by the water. Your roots are anchored in God, and He'll give you strength to flourish. Live each day knowing God is completing the work He started in you. Let me share one last story. I met Clara, a single mom facing financial hardship, her faith shaken. She started listening to our videos and chose to trust God's calling, even without a clear way out. Clara began praying daily, reading the Bible with her kids, and connecting with a faith community. Little by little, doors opened, a new job, supportive friendships, and a peace she never imagined. Today, Clara says she understands what it means to be chosen. It's trusting God as writing her story, even in the toughest chapters. What about your story? How is God calling you to live as chosen? Maybe through a loving act, a hopeful word, or a bold decision to obey His word. Every choice you make is a chance to reflect God's glory. Think of the challenges you face today. Work pressure, family, expectations, heavy news now. Imagine facing them with the certainty that you're chosen. At work you can be patient. At home you can reconcile. On social media you can be a voice of peace. You have the power to transform the world around you, one attitude at a time. The Bible gives us tools to live this calling. First, constant prayer. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, "Pray without ceasing." This doesn't mean kneeling all day, but keeping an open conversation with God, sharing every joy and worry. Second, meditating on the Word. Psalm 1:2 speaks of the person who meditates on the Lord's law day and night. Set aside a moment to read a verse and reflect. How does this apply to my life? Third, fellowship with others. Hebrews 10:24 urges us to spur one another on to love and good deeds. Find people who inspire you to grow in faith, because together we're stronger. If you want to deepen this commitment, save this video to revisit whenever you need encouragement, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's form a chain of hearts transformed by God's purpose. You've walked this journey of discovery, and now it's the decisive moment. Everything you've lived, every fall, every prayer, every hope, was used by God to prepare you for this instant. In Isaiah chapter 43 verse 1, God says, "I have called you by name. You are mine." Feel the weight of that promise. You're not an accident. You're a masterpiece of the Creator, chosen to carry His light. Today you understand. Being chosen isn't a title for a few, but a radical invitation to intimacy with God. It's a call to be salt and light in a world craving hope. So, how will you respond to this calling? Maybe with a simple prayer, "Lord, use me," or with a loving act, "Today I'll forgive," or with a step of faith, "I'll join a community." Whatever the step, take it today. God chose you before the foundation of the world, and now He awaits your decision to walk in holiness and love. Share this video with someone who needs to discover what it means to be chosen. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, and join us on this faith journey. In the comments, write, "I am chosen," and declare to the world you're ready to live God's purpose. The time to act is now. Go with courage, because God chose you to shine. Until next time, and may God's peace be with you.